Hi, I'm Seamless, and today is not even close to the day this is supposed to happen on, but this is a viewer track review. And today we're going to have 3 songs I kind of like, at least I think I do, and one special one at the end. So let's begin. Flop. This one is called Afraid by Balthasar? Balthasar. Like dinosaur. I guess, okay, well, let's do this. Oh, it's...
Are you afraid of God?
No. I'm afraid of
You saw me doing some stuff down here while I was playing, and what I was doing was I was doing a little bit of reconnaissance on this Baltasar person. Turns out he's got a YouTube channel with like 30-something subscribers, 50-something subscribers, a very small number of subscribers. And the reason why I was doing the reconnaissance is because I'm immediately suspicious of songs that sound as legit as this from a relative nobody. Because that's usually a big indicator that I'm about to get hit by a copyright strike for just fully lifting a track from something. But this track appears to be on the guy's SoundCloud and be on his YouTube, and also is 2 years old. So I sure hope that this was the guy that sent it. And I hope that he's not just like, because this is pretty good. Like, I'm not that big into hardstyle, and my own attempt at hardstyle may or may not have been all that wonderful, but from the research that I did for hardstyle to make that work, this was pretty on point. A couple things bugged me about it. So I liked the sort of Vivaldi-esque progression going on during the drops, but then it got kind of weirdly dissonant, and I get that the whole genre is weirdly dissonant. This is kind of like the name of the game. But at least the melodic bits tend to be still together with the melodic bits. Like, this bit, like that little high-pass moment that shows up there, like, it happens again kind of later with that specific sound set. Like that sound set. I guess that's not a high pass moment. It's just a different sound. And like that sound is like not even a little in key. If it is, that's just can't really place it. So it's like that's that kind of thing. I guess nothing at all to do with the high pass moment. So forget about that. But stuff like that kind of stuck out to me. Like the build ups and the hits and then all that was pretty great. Like it's like that. This is a 2-year-old song, and like hold on, let me just make sure. Orchestral hardstyle is the genre he put this on for the SoundCloud, which has 56 followers and 43 tracks. This is very, very a little suspicious. Baltasar. So like Baltas and then the word Sar, but together. So he's got a Twitter and a YouTube. 11 followers. All right. And 101 subscribers on YouTube. So he's got more subscribers on YouTube. Oh, so wait a minute. The 2-year-old song was actually his the thing that's on there. So this song is 1-year-old. Never mind about that. It's got 78 views. And he has a whole bunch of other stuff, which like if like they're at this quality, then I'm super surprised that he's not like more well known. You know? And this is what makes me suspicious. But anyway, like if I did get hit with a copyright strike, the way that I handle this now is that YouTube actually has a function to remove a song from your video, where it just mutes where it is. And I'm just gonna do that from now on. Whenever anybody decides to hit me with a copyright, which actually is happening to a lot of my older viewer track reviews. Some people who submitted to me a track to be reviewed so long ago, and then eventually got the track released, and then got put in the content ID, and then I got hit with the videos for it. So like, and it's usually stuff like TuneCore, which is like, you know, you give us songs, you upload it for you, and so you have like zero control over what they're doing, like with content ID. So that's not necessarily your fault, but just so you know, when that happens, I'm just gonna mute your track in the video. I don't care about that at all. So if ever you hear a muted track in a video, that's why. So other things, just kind of like the rest of hardstyle, like I get that this is still kind of the intro because like this part is like the actual main bit, but like most of hardstyle, it just doesn't hit hard enough for me, and it feels light, which is what confused me initially about the title hardstyle for the genre, because it didn't feel like it was hard. It doesn't hit hard enough. Then again, I've never heard it live, so for all I know, it's a wholly different experience when you're playing it live. But yeah, the kick was good. You know, all the weird sound effects were all right. Just strangely strangely unrelated to each other. The arrangement is pretty spot on, and the progression is nice. So I mean, you're good at this. Keep doing that. Next song. This is called Fast Runner by Bene. Bene. I don't know how to pronounce that. I speak words. Fwa. Fwa. I was gonna say this song is about a minute too long, but then the guitar solo happens, so that bit I actually kind of filled out the ending there. So good job with that. I really liked the plucky arp, like the plucky delayed thing that shows up. That was good. I like that a lot. I really don't like the snare when it's by itself. What I mean by that is that, when it's in the beat, the snare makes perfect sense. It blends well with the beats, the rest of the hats or whatever, and that's all just kind of good. But whenever the snare is by itself, like this, it sounds way too dry and out of place. And I really wish Edison wouldn't do that. It sounds really dry and out of place. And like, especially during this moment, where like all the other elements are kind of like nice and subdued and behind and like reverbed and they got their ambiented it out, and then this thing is just like and like it doesn't sort of do the job. And then later, I was about to like this part. I was about to be like, okay, yeah, that's how it works. And then it just kind of then it just came back up to being sort of just weirdly out of place again. And then when it got louder, I was just like, the snare, stop it. Any other sound would have been fine, but other than that snare. So I know that this track is supposed to be all subdued and like it's not like, loud and super amazing. I could tell because of the ridiculous dynamic range I could see just in the waveform, but you probably could have used a separate sub. The way that, this bass that you're doing, that's like basically your low pass Reese kind of thing going on. It's perfectly fine for your average liquid track, but you can just see the phase cancellation going on the lower frequencies. And it does look like there is kind of like a constant sub down there, but then every once in a while it gets overshadowed by like an even bigger one, which like for the most part is going to make stuff feel kind of unbalanced. So I would have preferred a separate sub, but I guess like it's sort of up to you. And also, I'll take this opportunity to address something that someone once said on a more recent viewer track review about how like I should be harsher on my viewers, like I used to be in the older track reviews. And the thing about the older track reviews is that I was doing those live, which meant I was accepting submissions in real time from people in the chat, and I meant that I had no idea what I was going to get. I would almost always get tracks that were just like travesties. So it was very easy for me to just be like, wow, here's all the things wrong with this track kind of thing. But now that I'm able to pick and choose stuff, I tend not to pick and choose tracks like that. I'll pick tracks that like I actually like, and then I'll also nitpick some stuff and give some technical advice about some things that can happen, because there's always improvements that a person can have for any given track. Unless it's going to be something that's just like so outlandishly beyond what I'm used to doing that I have no like expertise to call back on or something like that. And as well, it's also hard for me to not just be like, it sounds fine for everything, because I don't know what people were going for. And you have to remember when you're making your own stuff that no one else is going to know what you were going for either. Even if you try your hardest to explain, like in the title, like you title this track, this track that I was trying to like, I really like old pendulums, and you're just trying to do that kind of thing, and then just kind of like, okay, well now I can see where like, the comparison is and the differences or whatever, but nobody ever does that. So like when you take a track at face value, you gotta take the track in the context of no context, and it's hard to then make definitive judgments about like sort of, okay, like maybe you shouldn't have allowed so much dynamic range because what you were going after has a lot less of that, and maybe you shouldn't have like had the least amount of high frequency action I've ever seen in a track like this, because it's not only is there like that little area that's cut off by the MP3, but then there's also just like it feels like the entire track was low passed, and which not really a problem, honestly. Like it's different from what the typical track like release now would be like, but again, I don't know what you're going for. So that's why I'm picking something that you might consider to be softballs. Anyway, one more, and then the fun one. I don't remember this one at all. I'm sure I will though. kind of an odd ending. So this track is kind of neat. I dig the very full face nature of it. Some of the stuff that got me is like the choppy bits and the ridiculous sidechain. The sidechain is fine. It's just that like this track is trying to do that clever kind of like alternate cut hit slide rhythm thing, and to make it feel really like in depth with the rhythm. And the stuff like that, it's an extremely fine line between sounding like you have a complex rhythm and sounding like you're just fucking up. Like this part here. Every so often, this sort of whip of the sound works, and then every so often it just sounds like a weird ducking mistake. It's really hard to sort of just like get into it every time, and then every once in a while it just doesn't quite work out as well. Not only that, but sometimes like when these came around, thank you, Edison. God damn it, come on. Yeah, this part I used. Like, and then later there's the interludes with the higher pitched sound. Yeah, this guy. Okay, so this of like the main bass. The main bass itself sounds like it doesn't like terminate fast enough for this to work, and this is like a strange like oscillation problem. The sound, because it's very stereo, so it sounds like there's actually a little bit of stereo delay going on. I'm not totally sure how you're doing your stereo. It feels as though it's like when you do these cuts, the cuts themselves are fast enough to interact with like the note. They're not too fast. You can definitely detect individual like, emotion and that kind of thing. And it's like the division of this is just beyond one whole oscillation or two whole oscillations, an even number of oscillations, to the point where it feels like unbalanced when you do it, and it doesn't get like the same kind of like cut across as like a sound like this does, like a really sharp kind of like full frequency sound, because it has a high enough frequency content and it's blurry enough that like when you chop it up, it's like very definitively starting and stopping, versus like this sound, which like it's just too around for it to like it contributes to that, is that most of the rhythmic decisions in this track I feel like are leaning mostly towards the sounding like it's fucking upside than it is sounding like it has a complex rhythm. Although every once in a while this track does accomplish sounding like it has a sweet ass like complex rhythm. So good job with that. I super dig like the melodic kind of like bongo-y interludes, and like, the actual progression is fine, and the arrangement is all right. The ending is really abrupt and kind of, I guess that's just what you do with that sort of thing, and it's kind of okay. There's a nice separate sub, and it cuts out appropriately, and it's sidechained right, and like everything is. This is a very solid track, beyond the strange rhythms at some points. At least, in my opinion. Also wanted to mention, and that hardstyle track earlier, also, this track is called Magnets Alive by C. Nilsson. It's like the letter C, a period, a dash, a hyphen, I should say. And then Nilsson, Nilsen, and then Magnets Are Attractive is the title of this track. But I want to mention the Balthasar track, that I think having rain samples in your song is cheesy as shit. And if that's something you like, you can go ahead and do that, but it just makes it feel really, really dumb to me. Especially when they have thunder samples. Oh my god, can you stop? Just Jesus. Yeah. So now we're going to do a special track. This track is called Paradox, and it's by me 7 years ago. Somebody actually suggested this on YouTube, on YouTube comment. They suggested that I review one of my old songs as if it were a submission, and I think that'd be great. We're going to do this particular track a bit differently, though, because it's 11 minutes long, and I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's actually rather useless to do so. However, I will say that when I made this track 7 or 8 years ago, that it was like the pinnacle of my entire career. I was like, this is amazing, this is perfect. It's actually really terrible, but it's got a lot of shit that I just think is just so cool. And I am, however, going to start in the middle of it, because I actually made the first part as a whole song by itself, and then I made the second part using elements of the first song, and then I just put that in the first song. It's just in the song now. I don't know why I did that. And it's got relevant enough. It's almost a remix, but it's like it's not really even the same song anymore. So I'm not gonna play the whole first half. It's unnecessary. I'm going to start somewhere in the middle. All right, I'm going to start right there. It's going to be great. It's usually I say that a song is really loud when I'm about to play it, and this song is actually comically quiet because I didn't understand loudness back then. Also, I want to point out, like, 80% of the sounds you're going to hear are TS404. A fundamental flaw of reviewing something that's mine, that's old, is that while I can identify all the mistakes, I also know why I made all of those mistakes. Like, a fade out. I fucking hate fade outs. But I didn't know what to do to end a song. So I did. And, like, I don't like fade outs. And I just, the arrangement of this track is ridiculous. But, like, I still like a lot of it. Like, this whole part was just unfortunate. But it was absolutely worth it. Because then we had context for when this happened. Which I thought is just the greatest thing ever. Like, I was like, oh my god, it sounds so good. And like at that point, I was probably considering removing this whole part, but then I had to have that part in there to have context. Stupid. This is a citrus preset. That's just one of those sequence presets. Oh man, so much weird. And, like, there's no sub to speak of. The only sub that's there is from the drums. And it was, except for this 1 second. I don't even know why I did that, honestly. And then, like, I think it's there. And then there's more sub, like, on this side of it. I'm actually not totally sure where the sub came from. I think so, the lead instrument in the sound is a TS-404, just acid patch thing. It's actually, in the original version of this song... This is the sound I was making. I was like, oh my god, it's so awesome. And like, other just stupid shit. Ah, there it is. Okay, so I do have this thing going on, but I'm pretty sure that's from a drum loop. This song is full of just 100 different drum loops that I just found on the internet. And then one that I got really enamored with, and then I made the drum solo with. Which happened where? Here? Yeah. Like that thing. Which actually I played already in the first half of this song. And I played it 2 more times in the second half of the song. So that was another big mistake, is make different drum solos if you're gonna do that shit. Because like, you make something cool and unique and awesome. The second you do it twice, it's not that unique and cool and awesome anymore. And that was definitely something I did. But all these drum loops, some of them had bass in it. Like, the second time that drum loop showed up, I actually used the bassy beat with it. And then do 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 do. Like, it just has it's like a weird 808 thing. And that was like predominantly where the bass in this track came from, because there was no melodic sub to speak of. Arrangement wise, this track is just dumb. Like, nothing about this makes sense, and all the timing is weird, and, like, I kind of understand why I made this mistake, and it's because this was still at the stage of my time producing where I didn't quite understand what a DJ mix was. I got that, like, DJs played more than one track at a time or whatever, but, like, I listened to like drum and bass radio stations where they switched out tracks so fast that were so similar to each other that I honestly thought I could not tell sometimes where one track ended and one track began. And not so much where like, oh, it's faded so perfectly. I mean, like, I still think that these 3 tracks that just happened are the same track, because they sound so like relevant and related to each other that they might as well be the same track. So a lot of my arrangement ideas came from this idea that like songs themselves should have wildly unrelated parts in the same song, and that's just the song. That's just kind of how I got used to music. And so that's why some of these weird cuts and times sort of exist, because of that idea. It's really trippy to look at something with a lot of delay, because it looks like it's just smeared across the spectrum, which is pretty much exactly what's happening. This track, despite being at 0 dB, like, it's compressed. It's compressed hard enough to be that loud. Like, it's peaking up there, and it's just that, like, I understood compression enough to use it as a limiter, but I didn't understand compression enough to, like, utilize it in a way to actually make things loud. I didn't understand mixing well enough to make the track loud enough. So, like, it's got fuck ton of bass and not a lot else going on, which is funny considering there's no sub. which means that like a lot of the parts that should be loud, like the beats, are not all that loud because everything else is louder. This would have been solved by taking my own advice of making sure that the drums peak higher than all the other stuff together. There's no side chaining to speak of. There's no ducking. I didn't understand that concept for years until later for this point. So all the mixing is done by just smashing things together to create the track. Which, all things considered, having done that, some parts of the song are still just like enduringly sweet. I mentioned the original, so that I made the song and then like this. That was the sound that I was making, and like that was pretty much, like I was just super enamored with like that. I could do that with a TS-404. And then the remix was inspired by the fact that I was using that sound, and then I accidentally played it high. I played it. I clicked on the piano roll at the wrong time, and I got this. And I was just like, oh my god, that's awesome. And so that's why I decided to extend the track, because it's being like, okay, well, I'm using the same drums, the same sound, the same tempo. Might as well be the same song. I just didn't make a separate song. But like that's why that was there. And actually, I'm pretty sure later I was using that original sound. Like I'm using this guy is what I'm using. It looks sort of similar. I don't think I'm moving around as much in notes as I was here. There was some pretty okay progressions in the original, the first half of this. Like, I'm sort of impressed with myself for having made this 7 years ago. Like, that was pretty alright, which none of them made it in the second half, because there was just a wholly different progression, a wholly different everything, which I sort of understood to be how you made these kinds of songs. This is back when, like, my principal, like, aspiration in the world was to be a drum and bass producer. That's all I ever wanted to do. And there's actually a lot of old drum and bass songs from the day that, like, I tried to make that is me trying to be that. Yeah, so that was that song. You cannot find it anywhere, and that's going to stay that way. If you have any questions about all of this, please let me know. If you'd like to make a submission for yourself to be included into these review videos, the link in the description of this video will take you to the page where you can go do that kind of thing. Please read all the goddamn rules. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.